Are you a friend of my husband from middle school? I'm sorry, but I need you to leave right now. My name is Jackson. I'm 33 years old and single. Today, I went to my friend Lucas's wedding. He works with me. Before the ceremony, someone claiming to be a relative of the bride took me to a waiting room. This man was strong and forceful. I thought the bride wanted to greet me before the ceremony, so I didn't mind. At first, I admired how polite she was, but that quickly changed to disgust. The real reason I was brought there was not to be welcomed, but to be threatened. The bride, who was in the waiting room, looked at me with a mean expression. I was shocked, but I congratulated her anyway. Congratulations on your wedding. Then, she told me to leave immediately. What? I was surprised and asked why. Her answer was rude. She said, "This is why uneducated people are so bothersome," while clicking her tongue. It seemed she was upset that I only had a high school diploma. She continued, "You don't understand, so I'll be clear. My husband and I come from an elite family, and so do the other guests. It bothers me to see someone with a middle school education here." I knew that my background was looked down upon. I understood that Lucas was well educated, and I was aware of how people might feel about my education. But I still attended Lucas's wedding because we're friends. I just wanted to celebrate his marriage. It hurt that the bride, the main guest, looked down on me so much. I asked if I could say a few words to Lucas before leaving. The bride and her relatives looked at each other and started laughing, which confused me. I asked why they were laughing when I was being serious. Then, the bride said something I never expected. "My husband invited you to the wedding, not out of friendship, but out of pity," she said, continuing to mention my troubled past. I was abandoned by my parents and raised in an orphanage, because I didn't get enough nutrition while growing up. I'm tall, but very skinny as an adult. Lucas and I went to the same school. He invited me to his wedding out of compassion for a classmate like me, who struggles to get enough to eat even now. The bride thought he was trying to help me by inviting me to the wedding. I argued that this wasn't true, but she and her family ignored me. She said, "My husband's kindness can raise his status, but I can't stand having someone who only graduated from junior high at my wedding." Lucas graduated from a prestigious university and works at a large company that makes over $100 billion a year. She continued, "You say you work for the same company as my husband, but you're just a janitor or security guard. Do you think he feels sorry for you just because you were classmates? That's ridiculous." Even though we both work for the same company, which is popular and recently went public, I know there's a difference between a junior high school graduate and a college graduate. Our company hires many talented people regardless of their education, but I understand that there is still a gap between our backgrounds. No matter why he invited me, I just wanted to congratulate Lucas. I wasn't expecting anything in return. Despite how much I tried to explain myself and share my feelings, the bride wouldn't even try to understand me. She looked at me coldly, as if I were something dirty. It felt like she was trying not to breathe the same air as me. She dismissed my sincere friendship and said, "Why would my husband care about you when you only graduated from junior high?" Not only did she refuse to let me celebrate their marriage, but she also threatened to cut me off at work. I was left speechless. Even if the company accepts junior high school graduates, she refused to accept me and wanted nothing to do with me. A male relative grabbed my breasts. "Hey, please don't be so rough," I said, trying to shake him off, but he pushed me against the wall. I felt a dull pain in my back and chest and let out a low groan. "If you understand, just leave," he said. Before he could finish, the door to the waiting room opened, and I was thrown out hard, hitting the floor. Still, I could live without congratulating Lucas. I didn't want to be locked out before the wedding, so I went to a nearby cafe to wait before joining the other guests. When the reception started, the bride spotted me in my seat. She stared at me without saying a word, then she silently mouthed, "Why are you here?" The male relative noticed me and rushed over. He grabbed my arm, trying to drag me away, but this time, he couldn't get rid of me so easily. People nearby stepped in to protect me. "What are you doing?" he shouted, looking terrified. The bride seemed anxious as well. I picked up a nearby microphone and spoke loudly to the bride, who didn't understand what had happened. "Bride, I'm sorry for being told to leave. I just wanted to attend Lucas's wedding." "What is going on?" the bride asked, confused. Lucas, who was sitting at the head table, heard us and questioned, "What did you say to Jackson?" The frightened bride, under pressure, replied, Because he only graduated from junior high, it would be a bad match for both Lucas and me. I spoke to the bride, who looked dazed. I'm sorry I didn't leave, but I'll cut off my ties with Lucas. As you wish, please forgive me for this. My words shocked everyone in the room. That means you're fired, Lucas, I declared. The hall fell silent. The bride was the first to break the silence. What? What do you mean, fired? Lucas looked shaken, responding, You. What the hell did you just say? Jackson is the president of my company. That's right, I started a delivery service at 16, even though I graduated from junior high school. Over 10 years, I grew the company into a major corporation. I began the service with just my bicycle, right when people started spending more time at home, and it quickly became a publicly traded company. Lucas was my friend and a coworker. He always shared his meals with me and took care of me when I was skinny. He was more than a friend, he was like a benefactor. I grew up in an orphanage until I was 15, while Lucas was adopted at 12. He was smart and quickly excelled in school, going on to a prestigious university. Even after we moved away, we kept in touch. When we started our companies, Lucas promised to study hard and support mine. When our dreams came true and Lucas got married, I was thrilled. I wanted to congratulate him more than anyone else, which is why I kept trying to attend the wedding despite the bride's objections. I didn't care that I was a junior high school graduate. I was still the president. I had the authority to fire people. It was the bride who asked me to cut off my ties with Lucas, so I kindly told her that I would do as she wished. Wait, so Lucas is really fired? She said, shocked. The bride, who had been frozen in place, muttered, If you're such a loser, I don't want you anymore. I'm ending this marriage. It's pointless if you're not elite and don't have a high income. It was shocking when she declared that she was breaking off her engagement with Lucas, who had just been fired. The crowd gasped at her words. Shut up, I'm the victim here, she yelled. The good terms we had before getting married suddenly vanished. This feels like a marriage scam. She demanded compensation from Lucas for breaking off their engagement. Lucas looked disgusted by her behavior. I quietly tapped the screaming bride on the shoulder and whispered, You're the one who's going to pay the alimony, you know. After saying that, I played a video recording from my phone on the projector in the hall. This recording was from the phone I had dropped in the bride's waiting room when a male relative grabbed me. I had pressed the record button as I was pushed against the wall, and the phone continued recording as I fell. The recording showed the bride being unfaithful with the male relative in the waiting room. After the ceremony started, I went back to the waiting room and found my phone lying in a corner. I was shocked by what I saw on the recording. I couldn't believe they would do something so disgraceful on such a sacred day as a wedding. I immediately reported this to Lucas, which meant he knew about the earlier firing incident. I wanted to reveal the bride's true nature. Lucas's relatives confronted the bride's relatives, but they denied knowing the man in the video. They refused to take responsibility for him. Later, we found out that the man with the bride was just an adulterer. He seemed nice and fun, but he was a loser who didn't even work. The bride wanted to live a glamorous life while having a boyfriend. She targeted Lucas, who was gentle and reserved, and pressured him into marrying her. She really was a terrible person. Lucas, who studied hard and had little experience with love, was kind and trusted people easily. I was relieved to help him see the bride's true character, especially since my education played a part in this. In the end, the bride had to pay $5 million for the wedding and $3 million for breaking off the engagement, totaling $8 million in debt. Of course, she was cut off from her relatives and humiliated. Her adulterous partner, scared of the debt, ran away. She ended up living alone in a rundown apartment, working day and night to pay off her debts. Thanks to her terrible actions, the friendship between Lucas and me deepened, and the company grew rapidly. Since Lucas has always wanted to get married, I think I'll join him at a matchmaking party next time. I pretended to look more upset than I felt. Sure, it hurt when he first brought up divorce, but now, seeing how foolish he was, I felt like this was the best decision. Maybe this was some kind of divine sign to move on. I signed the divorce papers and left him behind, thinking he'd regret this one day. Time would tell. Fast forward a year after our divorce. Lisa, please help me. A shabby-looking man approached me as I was heading home from work. Excuse me, who are you? I asked, genuinely not recognizing him at first. It's me, Lisa. I need your help. It was my ex-husband, though he was barely recognizable. He looked worn down, his cheeks hollow, and his clothes in bad shape. Long time, no see, I said, surprised at how much he'd changed. Please, Lisa, could you introduce me to a lawyer at your firm? I can't just do that out of the blue. Lawyers charge fees, you know, I told him. I don't have that kind of money, please help me, he pleaded. Curious and feeling a bit sorry for him, I agreed to listen to his story at a nearby cafe. Before he could say much, I asked, did that girl, Alyssa, run off? He looked shocked. How did you know? Just as I thought, when he had shown me a picture of his new girlfriend, Alyssa, I'd immediately recognized her from my school reunion. She looked exactly like a woman my classmate's son had been scammed by. At the reunion, my classmate had shared her photo, warning everyone about this young woman who was a con artist. Her name then had been Sally, though I assumed even that was fake. So you did know about Alyssa? I asked him, almost amused. Well, yes, he admitted, defeated. Then he began explaining what happened. So you really want a child that badly? I asked. Yes, since you can't give birth, what else can we do? You'll agree to the divorce, won't you? He said coldly. I pretended to look more upset than I actually felt. Sure, I'd been hurt when he first mentioned divorce, but now, seeing how foolish he was, I felt like leaving him was the right choice. It was almost as if some higher power was guiding me to do this. I signed the divorce papers and left him behind, thinking he'd regret this someday. I'd just wait and see. Fast forward a year after the divorce. Lisa, please help me. A scruffy-looking man approached me as I was heading home from work. Excuse me, who are you? I asked, genuinely not recognizing him. It's me, Lisa. I need your help. It was my ex-husband, though he was barely recognizable. His face looked hollow and he was dressed poorly. Long time, no see, I replied, surprised at how much he'd changed. Please, could you introduce me to a lawyer at your firm? I can't just do that without reason. Lawyers charge fees, you know, I said. I don't have that kind of money, please help me, he pleaded. I could tell he was having money troubles, and I felt a bit sorry for him. Out of curiosity, I agreed to listen to his story at a nearby cafe.